Have you ever felt that you are not enough and that no matter what you do, you are lacking somehow? In a world where everyone wants to be liked, how do we stay true to ourselves when others fail to recognize our worth? What if the real challenge isn't being liked, but knowing how to like ourselves? So join me as we discover the journey of self-acceptance and discover how to thrive when the rest of the world may seem to be against us. This week, for some reason, and I don't know why, but I was really struggling when it came to deciding on what video to do this week. Now, usually I have several ideas and I will go through them, and depending on how I feel, my gut instinct, I will choose the one that I feel the most. But this week, I was going through all the ideas that I had, and it was like a nope, 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 nope for all of them. Now, I promised myself when I started to create content for YouTube that I wasn't going to become a slave to the algorithm and to the analytics, because it's very addictive and it's really easy to do. When you create content and you upload your videos, YouTube shows you how well your video is doing, who's watching it, how many people are watching it, the gender of people are watching it, the age group of the people who are watching it. So of course you've worked really hard for your video and you want to know how it's doing. So you sit there fixed, watching the analytics to see who's watching my video, who's watching my video. But I don't want to do that. And there are some people who will really study their analytics. They will make spreadsheets and they will do this and they will do that. And I always told myself that that was never going to be me. Maybe that's why they have more success than what I do, but it is what it is. Now, despite the fact that I don't check my analytics, I have noticed, however, that the views on my video over the past 3 or 4 weeks have been going down. And it hasn't been gradual, but it's been really kind of sharp. It's been like boom, right? And of course you begin to question yourself and you begin to ask yourself why. And I've asked myself, well, is it me? Is it something that I'm doing? Is it that I'm unlikable? Am I giving off some kind of vibe that people don't appreciate? Or is it that my videos just aren't that good? Now, one of the things that did cross my mind, and without going into too much detail and without calling anybody's name, there are on the internet this rise of dating coaches and life gurus who will talk to women and tell us that we're ugly, that we're not worth anything, that we're fat, that our education doesn't mean anything. They will bring us down, that we've hit the wall, that all these kind of things. And yet women will flock to them. They will go onto their shows. They will call in. They want to be a part of it. They try to convince these people that they are worth something. They will do all of that. And I think, and then there's someone like myself that will say to you, you know what? You are worth something. You are valid. You are beautiful. You can do anything that you want to do. You're resilient. You're here today because of the hard work that you put in yesterday. Don't let anyone tell you that you are not valid or that you are less than. I will preach this, I will tell you this, and yet there are people that will look at me with a side eye. I wonder what she wants. Is she pandering? And it lets me laugh. And I get it, I do, because we are so used to the negative. We're so used to people being horrible. Let's be honest, that when someone is nice to you, when somebody reaches out to you, when someone tells you that you know what, you are beautiful and you are valid, it does make you question it. And I get it, I can see that. But that's the world that we live in, unfortunately, that people would rather latch onto the negative and try to convince someone that they're valid. People that hate you, you will try to convince them that you're valid. But the person who tells you that you're valid, who knows that you're valid, you will look at them with the side eye. A few months ago, a young lady wrote, she commented, and she said that every time she saw my thumbnail in her feed, she would scroll on by because the red hair was off-putting, and that the red hair gave off ghetto vibes. Now, whatever ghetto vibes is, I don't know. But quite honestly, I wasn't upset about it. I wasn't offended in the slightest. Also because I don't think that it's true. I don't see myself in that description. So if I don't see myself in that description, there's no way am I going to take it personally. But at the end of the day, though, in a world where we all want to be liked, right? Everybody wants to be liked. And when we think about it through history, back in the day, our ancestors, if you were liked, you were part of a group. And if you were part of a group, you were protected and you had access to resources. Now, if you weren't liked and if you weren't part of a group, you were isolated and the possibility of survival was minimal. So, of course, being liked is something that's pretty important. When you try to please everybody, guess who you end up pleasing? No one. It doesn't work. So the only person who you really need to please, the only person that you really need to satisfy is yourself. I need to do the best that I can do, and my job is not to worry about if I'm likable, if I'm relatable, even though those things are important. But I also need to make sure that the videos that I put out, the audio is good, and sometimes I struggle with that. So I need to get better, that the lighting is good, and I really do struggle with that. So I need to improve on those things. I need to do what I can do. I cannot do anything about the fact if someone likes me or if someone doesn't like me. What can I do? How can I change somebody's mind? I can't. And to be quite honest, neither do I want to. I want to be accepted for who I am, for what I am, accent or not, red hair or not. I want to be liked for who I am, as I'm sure everybody else does too, right? And then also I was thinking, you know what? I am so busy. I have so much to do. And if I'm doing something like doing YouTube and trying to make content, and if it's not appreciated, then maybe I should put my efforts into something else. Why beat a dead horse if it's not liked? I can do something else, right? And when I was thinking, you know what, is there really any point to this? My sister, bless her heart, I have to say that my little sister, she is so supportive, and I love her so much for it. And it just so happened that in that moment, she sent me a video about a young lady, and I can't remember her name. Let me just look. Deshona Barbara. I hope I didn't butcher her name. And this is a young lady who was, I think she worked in the army or something like that. But she was a beautiful young lady. And she was told that she could be Miss America or Miss Universe. And she tried and she tried and she tried. And for several times that she tried, she failed until she actually won. And my sister sent me that video in that moment to let me know, you know what, never ever give up. And I really appreciated that. And at the same time also, when I was thinking, maybe this isn't something that I should be doing, maybe I'm just not good at it. I have other talents, I have other things that I can do. Maybe doing YouTube is one of them. And again, while I was thinking that, somebody told me that when they were listening to my last video, which is the art of not giving a bleep after 50, she said to me, you know what? I don't really have a problem in saying no, but after watching your video and hearing you talking about freedom phrases, now I always used to feel that I needed to justify my no's. I had to explain why I didn't want to do something. But after watching your video, I realized that I don't have to explain myself because, as you said, no is a complete sentence. So now she told me that when they ask her to do unreasonable things on her job, she's very quick to say no and keep it moving. And I love that. Honestly, I love that. It touched me so much because, as I always say on this channel, we have to celebrate the victories, our victories, no matter how small, we have to celebrate them. So even if my views are going down, yet I'm still able to touch someone and to make a teeny, weeny, wincy difference. For me, that is absolutely huge. And I'm so grateful. And it's just amazing that these things, that with the video and the person telling me this thing, it just happened at the right moment. Creating content for YouTube. There are people that have been doing this thing for years. And it takes time to build a community. It takes time to get subscribers. It takes time for people to get to know you. It takes time for people to really get into your style and the work that you do. So who am I? And how dare I rush and question things? Things take time, and things worth doing takes time. Now, I remember when I first started singing, I was so shy and I was so awkward. It was ridiculous. Let me tell you how shy I was. I was so shy that every time I did a gig, you know what I would do? I would get on stage, take the microphone off the stand, and I would turn my back to the public. I swear to you, not a word of a lie. I would sing with my back to the public, so all they could see was the back of my head and my backside. That was it. I just couldn't bear the thought of looking at the public, at seeing the audience, And I was so shy, I couldn't stand the fact that they would look at me. That's how crazy it was. And also around that time, I had a decent enough voice, right? And they would call me to do studio work. And of course, studio work is when they call you, maybe a producer or a writer or a record company. They have a song, but they don't have someone to sing it. So they would call me in to sing these songs. And when you're in the studio, you have to stand in front of the mic, but you have to stand at a certain distance away, right? So I would stand in front of the mic and it would be something like, I know that you love me. I know that. And they'll say, Angie, we can't hear you. Can you get closer to the mic, please? And I would get closer. I know that you love me. I know that you. And they say, Angie, please, we can't hear you. Because I was so shy that I wouldn't open my mouth when I sang. So I would get really close to the microphone and it would be, I know that you love me. And they would say, Angie, listen, we have on the mixer, we have your volume turned up to the max and we can't hear you. Please, can you please sing louder? Now, when I'm in the studio, they have to put me in another room because my voice is all you can hear. They have the mixer down at the lowest volume and my voice is still the loudest. And I'm saying this to say that things take time. As a singer, I didn't know how to act on stage. I didn't know how to behave. I didn't know what it was like to work in the studio. I didn't know any of these things. And these things came to me in time. I had to learn them. You know, it takes resilience. It takes effort. It takes failure. It takes so many things to have success. It takes so many things to get to where you want to go. It takes so many things to be what you want to be. So why is it that I'm rushing this thing with YouTube? Why am I looking at my analytics and getting upset because my views are going down? It's going to be a bumpy road. It's going to be up and down. There's going to be ins and outs. There are going to be so many different things. And it's a learning curve. I'm learning. I wasn't born on YouTube. There are people that have been here for 8, 9, 10 years. I can't expect to compete with them. Not after 10 months. I've been doing this for 10 months. I'm a baby here on YouTube. Right? So I know and I'm learning that I shouldn't take it personally. I'm growing. It's growth. But you know, sometimes we do just tend to focus on that one thing. It doesn't matter how many positive things happen around us. We seem to focus on that one thing in our life that isn't working. And when that one thing in our life that isn't working, we make it tarnish everything else. Everything else is a mess. Everything else is a rubbish. Everything else isn't worth it. And it's crazy how we do that. Why do we do that? Why do we focus on that one thing, that one negative thing in the middle of a sea of positive things? Why do we do that? It's crazy. You know, years ago, I used to work in this nightclub and I used to sing there. And there were a lot of people that used to come in and out of this nightclub. And there was this couple that came and they enjoyed watching the show. Now, after a while, this couple decided to get married. And when they decided to get married, the bride said, that the only person that she wanted to sing at her wedding was me. Now, how amazing is that? That is just so, and I was touched. But in the time that they had decided to get married, I had left the club and they had no way of contacting me. Now, it wasn't like it is now with Instagram and Facebook and you can DM people and all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, there wasn't all of that. So they couldn't contact me. So days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months and months turned into a year. And they were scouring the internet trying to look for me. Because the groom, he told me that she couldn't see her wedding with anybody else. So he did his best to find me. Now, after about a year and a half, I was working and still doing lots of things, but I did a particular show that was a big deal. And the agency that I was working for wrote up this thing on the internet, who I was, and that I was going to be the main feature of that show. And this couple, still scouring the internet, found this particular announcement. So they were excited and they called the agency. And of course the agency said, well, you know what? We can't just give you her number like that. We will contact her and ask her if she's interested. And they did that. So I finally got in contact with this couple. And when they told me their story and that they were waiting to get married and that they were waiting for me to sing at their wedding and they were waiting for over a year and a half, when I tell you that I was so touched, it was just amazing. Now I wanted to gift them this thing. I wanted to do it free for them, but they absolutely refused. So we came to an agreement about the money and how much they would pay me. Now, come the day of the wedding, it was a beautiful day. The bride was stunning. The groom was so handsome. And we had a makeshift stage, which was, we were in between these 4 Grecian pillars. So we set up and we were doing the show and everybody was enjoying it. The bride and the groom, while I was singing, were saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. They were just so happy and over the moon. All the wedding guests, they were dancing and having a really good time and enjoying the music and loving it. Now, while I was singing, I saw a gentleman at the back of the dance floor and he was dancing and making his way to the middle of the dance floor. And at a certain point, I saw him do this. Now, I didn't quite understand at first what he meant, and I didn't know if it was directed at me. So I just kept on singing and doing my thing until he did it again. Now, I felt like I was in the twilight zone because nobody seemed to see this man. The musicians were playing and they were just going for it and enjoying it. The bride and groom were dancing and having a well of a time and looking lovingly in each other's eyes. The guests were dancing and drinking and they were merry. And the only person that could see this man in the middle of the dance floor doing this was me. So I was getting a bit flustered. Now, this was a while ago. I wasn't the person that I am today, because if it was now, it would have been a different story. But I was getting a bit flustered because I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know what was going on. So I kept on singing, but I was feeling a bit insecure. And this guy, he was a bit sneaky too, because he just kept on dancing and he danced his way up to the front of the stage and he went and he hid behind one of the Grecian pillars. And he was there and he said to me, "Get off the stage." And I was like, "What?" And he, "Get off. I'm sick of you. I hate this music. Get off." was shocked because it's never happened to me before. And to be so brazen, it was just really weird. And nobody continued to see this man. And I was really, I didn't know what to do. So I looked at him again and he told me again, get off. I don't like this music. Get off. It's awful. So I continued for a bit. And then I just called like a break because I didn't know what to do. So I went and I found the groom. I kind of wish that I didn't now, because when I told the groom, ooh, he was mad. He was fuming. And I thought, oh no, I really didn't want to spoil this man's wedding. He said, how dare he? After I've waited nearly 2 years to find you, and he comes and he tells you to stop and to get, who is he? Who is he? And then he did say that he's sure that he was from his wife's side of the family, because his side of the family would never do something like that. But I didn't say a word. I said, listen, I'm not getting involved in any of this. But anyway, all of this to say, I was so focused on the one negative person that didn't like what I was doing, that I was prepared to throw into ruins and to spoil the joy of all the other 200 guests that were there. And that is something that we often do as human beings, and that is to focus on the negative. If you ever find yourself focusing on the one negative thing in your life, remember that you are writing your life story. One challenging chapter doesn't define the whole book. So turn the page. The best parts are still being written. Thank you so much for stopping by. It is always a pleasure to see you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. But until then, be kind to yourself and to others. Take care. Bye for now.